Russia-Ukraine war latest news. Can Modi stop Putin's Ukraine war? Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Ukraine to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky, raising questions about New Delhi's role in a truce. On Ukraine's National Flag Day, the Bharatiya Janata Party leader made his first visit since Russia's February 2022 invasion and the first by an Indian Prime Minister. India has remained neutral in the Russia-Ukraine war, urging for talks to resolve it. India attended the Ukraine Peace Summit in Geneva in June, which Zelensky pushed for, but it did not sign the joint statement. Russia didn't invite China, which has tried to mediate the situation. India's subsidized Russian oil purchases have supported Moscow's post-invasion economy. India's trade ministry reported a record $65.7 billion in bilateral trade last year. India, the world's top weapons buyer, has bought guns from Russia for decades. To prevent China's expansion in the Indo-Pacific, the U.S. wants Quad partner India to use its leverage to force Russia toward a truce. The relationship between India and Russia is long-standing. Before Modi's Russia visit last month, State Department spokeswoman Matthew Miller claimed that was well known. He reiterated Washington's call to use that relationship with Russia, that long-standing relationship and the unique position that they have, to urge President Putin to end his illegal war and find a just peace, a lasting peace to this conflict, to tell Russian President Vladimir Putin to respect the UN Charter, to respect Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Zelensky criticized Modi's visit on Twitter's X. It is a big disappointment and a catastrophic blow to peace efforts to watch the leader of the world's largest democracy hug the most bloodthirsty criminal in Moscow on such a day, he said. However, analysts say New Delhi is walking a tightrope with its decades-old Russian partner as Moscow and Beijing develop ties. Given escalating border concerns with China, India has been warming to the West. Project Syndicate published a column by former UN Under-Secretary General and Indian Minister of State Shashi Tharoor this week. However much the US dislikes it, India cannot denounce its connection with Russia. Modi obtained many concessions from Putin in July and clearly scolded the Russian leader over the war, calling the deaths of children in a Russian hospital strike unbearable. Rajan Menon, Emeritus and Bernard Spitzer Chair in Political Science at the City College of New York, told Newsweek that the statement was meant to communicate that India had not thrown his lot fully with Russia and doesn't support it absolutely. He also mentioned India's dozen humanitarian aid batches to war-torn Ukraine in 2022. Menon said Modi and Zelensky's talks show a convergence of interest. For its part, Ukraine realizes it needs significantly more success in garnering support in the global south, where India leads, Menon added. He added that India wants to retain as much diplomatic flexibility as possible as the situation in Ukraine continues and lead the world. According to Eurasia-based strategic firm Macro Advisory CEO Chris Weaver, Modi has two key goals. One is to demonstrate Indian neutrality, especially to a Western audience. The other is to try and find a way forward to a ceasefire and a peace process, and to explore if India may have a role as a peace mediator, Weaver told Newsweek. The Prime Minister undoubtedly discussed this with Putin last month. India has an economic motive to end the war. India overtook China as the largest buyer of Russian oil in July, boosting bilateral commerce with Russia. The deficit was approximately $60 billion. India is struggling to increase exports to the trade partner due to cross-border sanctions.